Good evening, I'm Rosmah and you're watching Kini News, the show that brings you today's biggest stories. A dozen people have been killed this year alone as a result of accidents involving drunk drivers, and the government wants this to stop. Still think it's a good idea to drink and drive? The government is set to change your mind with heavier punishment, which includes mandatory jail sentences. Transport Minister Wee Ka Siong today details some of the proposed amendments to the Road Transport Act that will see enhanced punishment for drink driving offenders. Among the proposals include doubling the punishment against drunk drivers who cause death to up to 20 years imprisonment and imposing mandatory jail sentences for drivers in charge of a motor vehicle while exceeding the alcohol limit. And the legal alcohol limit, that will also be drastically reduced.
Maka Kementerian Pengangkutan telah mengambil keputusan untuk meminda seksyen-seksyen termasuklah had kandungan alkohol supaya seseorang itu yang memandu melebihi had-had tersebut akan dikenakan hukuman yang jauh lebih berat. Maka Kementerian Pengangkutan berharap agar pindaan yang dicadangkan kali ini dapat mendidik mengubah sikap semua pengguna di atas jalan raya. Perkara ini sekaligus bertujuan membendung berlakunya kesalahan memandu di bawah pengaruh alkohol dadah dan juga memandu secara melulu dalam menjaga keselamatan pengguna jalan raya di Malaysia secara keseluruhan. Dalam masa yang sama, Kementerian Pengangkutan berpendapat bahawa selain daripada langkah-langkah undang-undang, program kesedaran dan juga pendidikan perlu juga digandakan.
Currently, Section 44 does not differentiate between causing death and causing injury. This will be differentiated in the amendment, with causing death seeing more severe punishment. The maximum punishment under Section 44 will be increased from 10 years imprisonment to 15 years and from 20,000 ringgit fine to 100,000 ringgit. For a subsequent offence, the maximum imprisonment period is 20 years and 150,000 ringgit fine. Currently, any person convicted under Section 44 is disqualified from holding a driving licence for 5 years for the first offence and 10 years for the subsequent offence. This will be increased to 20 years. Section 45A will be amended so that punishment will be mandatory against any person who drives, attempts to drive or is in charge of a motor vehicle while the alcohol level in the person's breath, blood or urine exceeds the prescribed levels. Landlords have been barred by DBKL from renting their homes to undocumented migrants. Will this exacerbate the issue of homelessness? Rina Harun was asked this in Parliament today. Women, Family and Community Development Minister Rina Harun appeared to be in the dark when she was quizzed by Segambut MP Hannah Yeo in Parliament today on what the government has been doing to manage refugees in Kuala Lumpur after the City Hall barred landlords from renting homes to undocumented migrants.
Soalan saya belum dijawab. Saya nak tanya, apakah rancangan terdekat sekarang kerana mereka sudah dikeluarkan daripada premis dan ini akan menjadikan isu gelandangan dan nombor ini akan naik kalau kita masih dalam perbincangan tetapi PBT telah buat keputusan untuk mengeluarkan mereka daripada premis.
YB sebut akan mengeluarkan mereka, maknanya belum dikeluarkan lagi.
Sudah
jadi
ada, sudah ada messages, semua sudah viral. NGO sedang carikan tempat, tak tahu mana nak pergi kerana kerajaan kata tak boleh simpan mereka di rumah, kemudian mereka tak boleh keluar. Kemudian itu sebab saya tanya sama ada menteri sudah berjumpa dengan UNHCR
untuk refugee ini.
Adakah menteri tahu bahawa sekarang ini refugee sudah tak ada tempat tinggal? Sudahkah menteri berjumpa dengan UNHCR?
On Sunday, the Malaysian Insight reported that at least 700 Rohingya refugees have lost their dwelling places in Kuala Lumpur last week. DBKL had ordered landlords not to rent out to undocumented migrants from late May, according to FMT. Malaysia is not a signatory to the UN Refugee Convention, leaving refugees in a legal grey area in the country. A JPAC business partner told the court today that Najib Abdul Razak's wife Rosmah seemed unsurprised at receiving a large cash payment. Rayan Radzwal Abdullah told the Kuala Lumpur High Court today that JPAC Holdings Managing Director Saidi Abang Samsudin admitted to paying 6.5 million ringgit to Rosmah Mansor for assistance in aiding the company to secure a solar hybrid project in Sarawak. Rayan, a JPAC business partner, said the payment was made by Saidi in 2 separate submissions, and Saidi even informed him of the amount after the payment was made. In his witness statement, Rayan said the first payment, amounting to 5 million ringgit, was made through Rosmah's former assistant, Rizal Mansor, as contribution to Rosmah, as promise for helping JPAC obtain a letter of agreement for the project. He said Saidi told him about it at a meeting in December 2016. He added that the second payment was made in September 2017 when he and Saidi went to Rosmah's house in Jalan Langgak Duta, Kuala Lumpur to have a meeting with the wife of then Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak. Rehan said while they were waiting for Rosmah to come out and meet them, he saw Saidi's driver entering and placing 2 black backpacks with orange stripes by the sofa in the living room. During the meeting, he said Saidi told Rosmah that another payment would follow based on the progress payment of the project, while Rosmah just nodded and said, quote, okay, without showing surprise at the sum of money. Rehan continued his testimony from yesterday as the 15th witness of the corruption trial involving Rosmah before Judge Muhammad Zaini Mazlan. Rosmah faces one charge of soliciting 187.5 million ringgit and 2 charges of receiving a bribe of 6.5 million ringgit from Saidi through Rizal as a reward for helping the company secure a 1.25 billion ringgit project, which covered 369 schools in rural Sarawak and was obtained through a direct negotiation with the Education Ministry. Soon we may see the 12th by-election since GE14, following the passing of a veteran UMNO assemblyperson. Slim lawmaker and UMNO Supreme Council member Muhammad Kusairi Abdul Talib passed away today. According to Bernama, Kusairi passed away in Bentong, Pahang. This was confirmed by Pera UMNO chief Sarani Muhammad. Kusairi is a 4-term Slim assemblyperson and was once the chairperson of the National Film Development Board, FINAS. His passing will pave way for the country's 12th by-election since the 2018 general election. Now we take a look at the country's latest COVID-19 situation. Malaysia reported 5 new COVID-19 cases today. In a statement, Health Ministry Director General Dr. Noresham Abdullah said 4 of the 5 cases were locally transmitted, and of the local cases, 3 were detected in Sarawak. Meanwhile, the sole imported case involved a foreigner who was permitted to enter Malaysia for work purposes. There were also 2 more recoveries today, which means active cases are at 86. No COVID-19 related fatalities were reported today. Coming up next, Shafi Abdul reveals how Muhyiddin wanted him on his side. Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin does not have a Deputy Prime Minister currently, but according to Shafi Abdul, that could have been him. Warisan President Shafi Abdul revealed in an interview on Tuesday he believed that Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin was prepared to offer him to be his number 2 in exchange for support.
Has the PM ever approached you to maybe try and convince you to support him?
After this one, no. But before that, yes, because he's also a friend. He's still a friend of mine, in spite of our differences. We're all Malaysian anyway. I mean, we cannot be just, we have differences in certain things, but so far since then, he have never. Only when he hold the position, once there was a couple of weeks, I think, he did text me. He did one. Is there any right time for us to talk? But I was more interested into talking about how we rule, how we govern, how we sort out G to G.
So he never really formally approached you to ask you to...
Messages, yes.
Messages, yes.
Yeah.
How far back was this?
Well, that was quite some time.
Okay, just as
Yeah. I don't know whether they compare messages to my colleague. He has been receiving messages. Well, we need to talk.
Did he offer you number 2?
You ask him. He didn't spell it out, but I know about that.
Shafi also revealed that it was DAP and Amanah who had mooted his name as a potential Prime Minister candidate for Pakatan Harapan Plus. However, despite having alleged to agree to this idea, Harapan components DAP and Amanah later came up with a joint statement that they would leave the matter to be decided at the coalition level.
Well, the discussion was held in this house. And it was suggested by DAP and Amanah. It was not Mahathir's suggestion, and they posed that kind of idea to provide a solution. Neither Mahathir nor Anwar can work together. So that's why for all these impasses, I said I thought I was the solution for it. We're not only talking about how best the Mahathir and as well as Anwar can gather together and form a united front, but at the same time building a nation. When Tun responded to that sort of suggestion by Guan, he thought for about 2 minutes. He said, "Why not? It's a good idea. But we'll make decision." So that was how Tun Mahathir suggested mainland, because it's coming from the eastern part of the country, which never happened before. And I believe that it was the dream of our forefathers when we formed Malaysia, saying that, you know, we are equal partners. You have 2, 3 from Kedah to become Prime Minister, you have 1 from Penang, you have 2 from Johor, you have 2 from Pahang, none from Sabah and Sarawak. But I did indicate to them that we are not for it. I never demand for it. You know, that's why I told him, I said, I would love to serve my people and the state of Sabah. After what I have done, I've been serving federal government for more than 30 years. So I thought I wanted to serve, you know, my state. But when the nation called, well, I told him, I said, let me think it over. I have yet to make decision because I can't decide on certain things. It's only a motions or proposal and yet to be seconded. So, if the nation call, well, I've been serving the country too. You know, but let me have some discussion with some of the colleagues. Yesterday I met Anwar, so he said he wanted to talk. I already talked to him before. I said I discussed with him before as well about all the issues.
The US will now treat Hong Kong just as it treats mainland China. US President Donald Trump has ordered an end to Hong Kong's special status under US law to punish China for what he called, quote, oppressive actions against the former British colony. This has prompted a response from Beijing, which warned of retaliatory sanctions. Citing China's decision to enact a new national security law for Hong Kong, Trump signed an executive order that he said would end the preferential economic treatment for the city. At a press conference, Trump said, quote, no special privileges, no special economic treatment, and no export of sensitive technologies. Acting on a Tuesday deadline, he also signed a bill approved by the US Congress to penalize banks doing business with Chinese officials who implemented the new security law. He added that Hong Kong will now be treated the same as mainland China. Under the executive order, US property would be blocked for any person determined to be responsible or explicit in actions or policies that undermine democratic processes or institutions in Hong Kong, according to the text of the document released by the White House. It also directs officials to revoke license exceptions for exports to China and includes revoking special treatment for Hong Kong passport holders. China's foreign ministry said on Wednesday Beijing will impose retaliatory sanctions against US individuals and entities in response to the law targeting banks, though the statement released through state media did not reference the executive order. China said Hong Kong affairs are purely China's internal affairs and no foreign country has the right to interfere. Critics of the security law fear it will crush the wide-ranging freedoms promised to Hong Kong when it returned to Chinese rule in 1997. While supporters say it will bring stability to the city after a year of sometimes violent anti-government protests. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'll be back with more tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm Prasad Michael. Thank you for watching.